Hello there, lovers of natural history. Bob Ellis here, Program Director from the Natural History Institute, bringing you the next in the Notes from the Field series. Today I want to focus on a particular plant, and I'm going to put that plant in the context of evolution through natural selection. I'm standing in a wash about 10 miles east of a little town called Paulden, Arizona, which is at the northern end of the Mogollon Highlands. I'm on Prescott National Forest ground and at the interface between two enormous biotic communities, the plains and Great Basin grassland characterized by grasses, and the Great Basin conifer woodland characterized by those juniper trees that you see behind me. This wash heads towards the Verde River south about half a mile and cuts through a formation called, that formation right there is kind of gray-black formation, the Martin Formation, and it's a limestone formation. The plant that I want to tell you about is under a juniper tree over here, so let's walk over and look at it. The plant that I'm interested in sharing a story with you about is this plant that has the purple flower, the little purple flower, kind of has a yellow tip on it. And as you look across the landscape, it is ubiquitous out there among the junipers and the occasional pinyon tree. And so you can see that it's a really arid landscape. The average amount of precipitation in this landscape, I'm going to guess, is 12 inches historically. We've probably moved into the 7 to 10 range. So that's the context that this plant lives in. The scientific name for this plant is Cordylanthus parviflorus. Cordylanthus, the genus, is a combination of two roots, cordy, which means club, and anthus, which means flower, and the species epithet, parviflorus, just simply means small flower. The family name is Orobanchaceae, and the common name for that family is the Broomrape family. And rape, in this case, is referring to a word that means tuber. And then broom refers to a common plant in Europe that was in the bean family. So kind of a strange common name for a family. And this family recently grew to become quite large in comparison to the past due to molecular genetics. Beginning late in the 20th century and running through to present day, molecular genetics has really changed a lot of the plant systematics. In this case, you all are probably familiar with snapdragons. Those belong to a family called the figworts, or Scrophulariaceae, the scroffs, you might know them as. And that whole family was disintegrated whenever molecular genetics pried into the plant's genetics, and this plant was taken out of that family, Scrophulariaceae, and put in the Orobanchaceae family. So I hope you'll pardon my sunglasses. It's very bright out here. The Orobanchaceae family is a family that is filled almost exclusively with parasitic plants, ranging from purely parasitic to plants that are partially parasites or hemiparasites. And it just so happens that this purple bird's beak is one of those hemiparasites. Down in the wash now that I had mentioned earlier, and you can see it's rushed to the river heads in that direction. And this little wash is cutting through this Martin Formation, this limestone that was deposited during the Devonian. Now, limestone as a substrate for soil and not soil, because there's virtually no soil here, is a very dry, water absorbing, doesn't hold water, retains heat, so that sort of even exacerbates the climatic conditions. And yet look underneath that juniper right there. Look at the tremendous amount of purple bird's beak, Cordylanthus. I mean, it is just thick. And so something else has to be going on here, because these plants are not getting their water solely from the soil. And as we said earlier, these are hemiparasitic. And it's interesting, if you look closely at the plant, you can see that the leaves are extremely reduced. So this plant is not doing a whole lot of photosynthesis. It can photosynthesize some. However, with leaves that tiny, it is not gaining a whole lot of photosynthate through that pathway. I did see over here, I happened to notice another parasitic plant that is in this very same family. It too got reorganized during the disintegration of the figwort, Scrophulariaceae, and it is common name Indian paintbrush. Where did that little fella go? Yeah, sort of lost it. Let me backtrack a little. Ah, there it is. And like all the other plants in that family, it too is parasitic. That's that one there with the red flowers. It's a hemiparasite, and quite frequently it's a hemiparasite on grasses as well. Genus is Castellacea. Species, don't know. There's quite a few species in that genus. I wanted to show you one other plant here that has some wonderful adaptations for drought tolerance, but not in Orobanchaceae. This shrub here, this dark bark shrub with the extremely tiny compound leaves. Look at how tiny those leaflets are. It's just amazingly tiny, and of course that's an adaptation that's been selected for over long reaches of time to conserve water. And this plant is surviving in extremely arid climate right there on the Martin Formation, on this limestone formation. The plant is in the bean family, Fabaceae, and its scientific name is Dahlia formosa. Standing in the shade at the edge of the wash, just to get out of the heat. And I just wanted to remind you all how that process of evolution through natural selection works and what's going on out here. And the basic story is this: organisms throw many young at the world. Just consider the number of seeds that those plants up there in that landscape are throwing at the world each year. And then the environment, the place, selects for those organisms that have the characteristics that confer the ability to reproduce. And those characteristics are then passed on to the next generation, so that even in a harsh climate and dry substrate, life flourishes because these adaptations, characteristics are being selected for. Those with the characteristics live, those without them die, and then do not pass those characteristics that did not confer an advantage to them. They are doomed. And so I like to say evolution loves death, because so many organisms are not chosen by the environment. Those characteristics are tossed out, and only those that have the characteristics that confer suitability in the conditions that exist at the time are the ones that persist. Thank you for coming along with me today. We really appreciate your viewership, and if you would just go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, we would really appreciate it. And if you really liked what you saw today, why don't you go to our website, naturalhistoryinstitute.org, and there you're going to find all kinds of really interesting resources and a donate button. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.